consider myself to be an absolute master negotiator, primarily because I've worked as a recruiter for many years. Today, I'm going to tell you all of the biggest mistakes that I have seen people make when it comes to negotiation, with a special focus on salary and helping you make more money. So if you like content that is helping you get ahead in your life, but doesn't feel pretentious and is still giving like chill, let's just hang out vibes, this is probably the time you would want to subscribe. The first and most detrimental mistake I see when people are negotiating, especially when it comes to salary and job offer, is actually the mindset around negotiations. I think a lot of people, especially young women, like myself included, because I have been there, feel like the company is doing us a favor by giving us a job, or that asking for a raise is greedy, asking for more money is greedy. It's not. It's just business. And guess what? Business is inherently greedy. Your company isn't going to feel bad making you work overtime, because let me tell you, these companies will not look out for you. So take that anxiety, throw it out the window, we're moving on. Do you hear that? That's the power of silence. I don't know who needs to hear this, but silence is one of the best negotiation tools on the freaking planet. It is such a power play to make an ask to someone and say, I want $50,000 more than this job offer, and sit there in silence and let it brew and steep. Instead of saying, I need $50,000 more because the cost of living is high and I'm actually a really good employee and I hope you can see my value and my worth. Oh, please pick me, choose me, love me. That is not the position of confidence and power we want to come from. So after you make your ask, stop talking. Give the other person the opportunity to respond and digest. At the end of the day, you are responsible for making the ask. They're responsible for letting you know what is doable. At this point, it is not your duty to sit there and justify why you are worth this extra money. You've done all of that in the interview. You've done all of that in your work experience. You are now simply negotiating from a business perspective. On the note of not talking too much, I have seen so many candidates do this where they overshare how much they're making in their current role, the number that they're willing to accept, and even worse, the lowest number that they're willing to accept. Guys, listen to me when I tell you this. Do not think these recruiters all have your best interest at heart. Some of them do, but a good portion of them don't. So don't spill the beans on anything. In fact, the only pieces of data that you should be sharing with the recruiter or with whoever you're negotiating with should ultimately be your anchor numbers and your non-negotiables. If you're not familiar with the concept of an anchor number, I'm about to blow your mind, but your anchor number is essentially the number that you ideally want for this negotiation. So maybe it's your salary, it's how much you want to sell your house for, it's your ideal. For me, $100,000. That sounds fabulous. But guess what? In negotiation, if you just share what your true anchor number is, there is a less likely chance that you're actually going to get that number. Because you have to remember, the other party's goal is not to make you happy. It's not to hold your hand and kiss you on the cheek. It's for them to save money. So if you say 100, they're gonna come back and say 90. But if you say 110, they're gonna come back and say 100, aren't they? Undisputed pro tip, whatever your anchor number is or your ideal number is, add 10%, but don't add more, because if your number is so freaking high that it's almost unrealistic, it's actually going to do more harm than good. People aren't going to take you seriously because they're not going to think you actually did adequate research. And you may be wondering how specifically you can do some research when it comes to like salary and all of that good stuff. I like using websites like PayScale and Glassdoor. I personally find that those are the most helpful, but there's a lot of different websites you can use. But the reason I like PayScale is because you actually can type in what geography you're in. So it's much more specific and regionalized. Another option is that you can check out ChatGPT or u.com. I personally prefer u.com just because I think the data is a little bit more accurate. Another massive mistake that people tend to make when they're negotiating is using very I and you language. Pay attention to how these two conversations sound versus the other. I'm looking for a salary range of $110,000. That's what I communicated at the beginning of the process. What can you do for me? To some people, that might sound a little bit abrasive, a little bit too direct, and may even rub people the wrong way, but try this. I really appreciate the offer that you shared. I know at the beginning of the process, we spoke a little bit about my salary expectations being closer to about $110,000 a year. Is there anything we can do to meet somewhere closer to that? It just sounds better, but in addition to that, when you use we-focused language and make the negotiation something that feels collaborative and almost like a joint effort, you automatically, by way of psychology hacks, get people more bought into your success. Automatically, that person feels like you're on the same team, not pitted against each other. You go further together when it comes to negotiations. Trust me, get that recruiter on your side. Kind of breaks my heart whenever I see this, but a lot of people, especially early in their career, feel very pressured to accept an offer the second that they get it, or the second the recruiter comes back and like negotiates, they're like, okay, great, I have to take this offer. Like, this is the best it's getting. That may be true. Rule of thumb, never accept the first offer. You are 100% leaving money on the table if that is the case. It is always worth negotiating because the worst thing that's going to happen is nothing. The worst thing that's going to happen is the job offer they offered you is the best they can do, and you get to decide if that is close enough to your anchor number to make you happy. However, if you do ask and there is more money there, think of how delightful that would be to just have a little bit more coin sitting in your bank account. Now, this skill isn't necessarily exclusive to negotiation, but oh my God, it can hurt you so much, is if you're not a clear communicator. If you're the kind of communicator where you use a lot of filler words, so you say things like or you ramble on, or maybe you seem very timid when you speak, this is not the time. A strong communicator is someone who masters both the physical and the verbal, which means you're sitting up tall, even though I'm not right now. You're sitting up tall, you smile when you speak, you have strong physical body language. So you lean in, you talk with your hands a little bit, you make a concerted effort to nod and show that you're with it. From a verbal perspective, notice how I don't really use filler words. Notice how I speak very clearly and I enunciate all of my words. Like there is no opportunity to misconstrue what I'm saying here. I speak very clearly. I also make sure I speak slowly, so it's not stumbling through my words. I let my words take up space because guess what? I know my words matter. And when you communicate in that clear, concise, I am that bitch way, guess what? Everyone around you starts to receive you like you're that bitch. Okay, we're gonna practice this together. Ready? Based on my market research, I believe you, yes, you specifically, are really invested in developing your career and making sure that you feel confident and empowered and most importantly, paid. Is that right? Amazing. With that being said, I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel. See what I did there? Y'all, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me. If you have any questions, if you need help in any of your situations, hit me up in the comments. And also, if there's any topic you want me to cover, oh my God, let me know. I would love to cover it for you. So let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Hit me up in those comments. I absolutely adore you. I adore you. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you in the next one.